we already took a look at how to select an entity. Now let's take a brief look at the Summon widget and how objD realizes the summon command to create new entities. First off, objD gives you this utility class called entity type. You can just insert the entity ID into the constructor here, or you can use some constants for each entity type. So you can use entity type.sheep, entity type.zombie, and all other entities, for example. And now we use our Summon widget and pass an entity type into it. In my case, entity type.ampersand. Optionally, you can also specify the location here. By default, this is set to the current location, so location.here. And to configure the options more, there is the NBT property, which accepts a map with data for your entity. For our ampersand, this can be invisible or small here. Let's take a look at this in code. We have our Summon widget here, and let's see what happens if we generate this. Well, in the main.mc function we see this really simple summon command. All of you should also be familiar with this. But there are a few more properties on the Summon widget that you can use optionally. I took some of the most used NBT tags and moved them into the Summon widget to get a more convenient interface. So I can give it a name, for example. This is a text component, more on text, and the text component in this Widget a Week video. And here you can basically pass a custom name. And we can also say if the name should be visible or not with this boolean value here. I just set it to true. And here we also have the invulnerable tag, which can also accept true or false. Let's set this to false so that the player is not able to destroy the ampersand. Same goes with persistent, that the entity does not respawn. We also have the no AI tag. This is also pretty common. For an ampersand, this makes no sense, but we will include it as well. You can also set the silent property, the gravity property. Note that the NBT data here is no gravity, so this is reversed. So if we say gravity false, no gravity will be true. There's also small for some entities that have a baby. And the last boolean tag is glowing, which you can also change for many entities. Then we have some essential NBT data, for example the tags. Here you can just insert a list of tags as strings, and these will be assigned to the entity from the beginning on. You can also set the rotation here. This uses the rotation object. So in this case you have to use rotation.global to set the x and y value to your specified rotation. Then there are also effects. This is a list of an effect widget. The effect is also used to give some entity an effect. So you can use this in both cases, which is kind of convenient. But I don't want to tell you everything about the effect widget now. You can either watch the Widget a Week for that, or also take a look at the documentation. And then there are also the passengers. And the passengers are kind of special. This is again an array, and here you can insert other Summon widgets. Usually you have to insert NBT data here, which is kind of complicated, but here you can just take another Summon widget, like you would define it, and objD automatically converts this to NBT data. So let's summon an entity type.sheep here. Obviously you don't need the location here. And of course you can go on and insert another passengers here, but everything can be structured, and these Summon widgets could also be saved in a variable so that your code is much more clearer. So this would be it for the Summon widget. A lot of properties, most of them are optional. If you have any suggestions, write them in the comments. And also remember that all of these properties that affect NBT data override this NBT statement here. If you don't have the NBT here, this is obviously generated. If you have some case where you need entity NBT data in a spawn egg, for example, or if you want to insert passengers manually, you can also do that with the summon data and extract the NBT representation of that entity. You can just call the method getMap. That will convert the whole Summon widget into a map. And you can use this map, for example, with objD data to insert this year as extra property or into other data fields. If you would like to know more about objD, visit stevatus.com/objD or watch all the other episodes in this playlist.